Want to talk spooky games? Castlevania.
Yeah,
Is
I
this
added a
new?
couple. These are just spooky game recommends.
Oh,
These aren't
cool.
any new games. These are just
Okay.
spooky game recommends. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is my number one favorite game of all time.
Such
Yeah,
a good
it
game.
was. Yeah, it
Is it
was out on.
is it spooky
it's,
though? Is it spooky?
it's
It's got
Castlevania.
vampires.
It's
Well, vampires,
Castlevania.
but it's got bright colors and upbeat music.
Got
No,
skeletons.
the
Ookie spooky
music is
skeletons.
not up. Is spooky, scary skeletons.
I wouldn't say this game is spooky, but it's still fun, and it's like the tension is high because it's a hard game too.
Oh yeah. It's a Metroidvania game for sure, and it's my favorite game. Number one. If you ever ask actor Matt, what's your favorite game of all time? That's it right there. So maybe I'm a little biased. That's why I put it into the spooky games, is because it's Castlevania, vampires, whatever. I think I also added the medium. I've talked about it before. Super weird, creepy game, a lot like Silent Hill. You play as a medium, and it's kind of this weird split screen where you see what the real world is and you see what the spirit world is
Oh
a
boy.
lot of the time. And I couldn't play on my laptop because it would just shut down my laptop because it was so graphics intensive. Even on my PS5, it wheezes a bit because once you get into the split screen stuff, it's very graphics intensive. But great game, spooky as hell. If you want jump scares, that game's got it for you. And then I also did something fun, Evil Dead the game. Evil Dead it's a MOBA. For those that know what MOBAs are, it's like Dead by Daylight, but it's Evil Dead. So one person plays as the Deadites, and then you have 4 survivors. And the whole job is to get all of the pieces of the Necronomicon. It's been a little bit since I played it last, just because I can't find people to play with me anymore. And nobody's actually playing online, so I have to actually invite friends to come out and play with me because it wasn't a very popular game, but it's still very fun. If you can get some friends together, 5 friends, and play Evil Dead, it's so much fun. And then just have one of your friends rotate out who gets to be the Deadites. But, for me and Mike as well, because I know how much Mike loves Evil Dead and Bruce Campbell, it's a fun time. I really enjoyed it. And it's creepy, But what was that game that you just posted, AC?
It's Slender. You know about the Slender Man, right?
Right.
This was like a big viral hit, like in the late, 2010s. That was a very independent game, and it's basically the whole point of the game is that you're walking around the woods and trying to find these 8 pages, like these 8 pieces of paper. But the Slender Man would always be following you, and it's one of those games where he only moves when you're not looking at him. But
Green light.
if you look at him too long, then he gets you.
Oh.
Let me see if I can pull up footage of the original game, because this is a remaster, a remake. But yeah, the Slender Man, it's been a whole big thing of this online thing. That's the thing that actually caused actual murders, or not murders, but like violence, because this girl who believed in the Slender Man, and so she lured these 2 other girls.
Oh!
And stabbed them.
I saw that on my favorite true crime
because
channel.
she wanted to sacrifice them to the Slender Man.
Yeah. If any of you are true crime fans out there, there is a great channel here on YouTube called Ewu Explore With Us. It's EWU. Love that channel. Me and the wife watch it all the time.
Oh, nice. I'll look that up. Yeah. You post that on the Discord so I can see it.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the Slender Man, it's been like this big phenomenon of a series, and there's a YouTube series called Marble Hornets, which is a really cool just narrative story about the Slender Man and all the things that are what it's about. And it's shot from, it's like a found footage. So if you like Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity, it's like that. It's really cool. You should look up Marble Hornets.
Okay.
It's scary too. After Slender, because that game, yeah, it definitely freaked me out. But as a kid, owning a PlayStation 1, it was like my first 3D console. I rented a little game called Resident Evil, and
Oh yeah.
that game just kind of freaked me the hell out because it was just so terrifying to play. I like that, you're just a cop in this game and you had a gun, but the gun's useless. You shoot zombies enough and they go down, but you wait enough and they just come right back up.
Yeah.
And so really the only thing to do is run away. As you're trying to like figure out this mansion and all these puzzles to do. And it was the first game that I was having like, this is panic attacks. And rather than stop playing, I had to keep playing because we rented it. And it's like, this is my weekend. I got to get my money's worth. I got to play this game. And so it was
the good old days.
And so it was just heart pounding. I never beat it when I rented it, but I did eventually come back to it later in life because they did the remake on GameCube, I think.
Which do you prefer, 1 or 2?
I like 1.
Like
2's
1
really
better?
good. I've never really had much time with 2. I need to play the remake of 2. I haven't played that one.
2 is great only because what you were talking about, and I remember the pixelated zombies that fell to the ground after you shot them like 10 times. And then you stand there because you're looting, because it's kind of a looter shooter survival.
Yeah. It's a
thing.
resource gathering game because you gotta
Yeah.
get as many bullets as you can, as much health items.
Yeah, and you're looting, and then the zombie stands back up. Well, in 2, at least in the remake, I can't remember. It's been so long since I played the original part 2. But in the remake, if you hit them in the head, they're done. Right? And I have the remake, and on HD, it's so crystal clear. You see the chunks of skull fly off, and you see into the brain. It's grotesque. But yeah, if you hit them right, they're down for good.
Yeah, no, I remember because of the pixelated thing. I think it was just indefinitely. They just get back up.
Yeah, because you couldn't shoot him in the head. You couldn't hit him.
Because there was no aiming like there is in the newer Resident Evils. You're just like shooting them in the chest or whatever.
Yeah, it's just you just pump them full of bullets and then they get back up.
Yeah, it's nuts. I think the whole franchise is fantastic. It's like one of my favorite video game franchises. Resident Evil.
I still have
Resident Evil 4. Come on, Resident Evil 4 is like one of the best video games ever made, I think.
I was always told the 7 and the newest one. So BioShock or Resident Evil.
Biohazard.
And then the newest one.
Village.
Village. Those are the ones that everybody's just raving about. I own Biohazard. I've never played it.
They're good. Starting with Biohazard, it's sort of like a reboot of the franchise. It really doesn't have anything to do with the story of the other ones. But Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games ever. And that was on the GameCube. And then they just did the remake on PS5 last year. And that was fantastic as well. So, yeah, I love Resident Evil. It's spooky. It just gets you right there in the nerves. Just like, oh, God, I can't.
It's like the Silent Hill games. Resident Evil, Silent Hill.
I haven't played the Silent Hill games. I know that they did the remake of Silent Hill 2, and I've watched a couple streams of that, and it looks spooky too.
Yeah, Silent Hill is always good. I dig me some Silent Hill.
And then after that, I got one last one that I really like, MediEvil. Have you ever played MediEvil?
Long time ago.
I remember seeing it.
I have the remake of it.
Yeah, it was originally on PS1, and you're just like a dude called Dan who was shot at the first battle of some big war, but you're trying to take down this evil sorcerer on your land. But you're like a skeleton man. You're kind of like Jack Skellington. It's very gothic and very funny too. It has a good sense of humor about it.
It's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, definitely. But it's a fun action game. If you like those games of that era, like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, where you're running around, finding stuff. You know what? It reminds me a lot of Banjo-Kazooie, too.
Yeah.
Kind of like one of those games, platformer type of deal.
Yeah, fun games.
Excellent.
What about you, Mike? What kind of scary games do you like?
Oh, boy. I didn't come up with it.
Mike doesn't like to be scared.
I don't really play that many of the spooky games, actually. It's not my bag. It's not my bag.
Correction.
I don't watch that many horror movies either, unless I'm making fun of them.
Correction, Mike doesn't get scared. And so, like, when he...
I don't get scared, so no
like, when he
games.
watches horror movies, he's just like, this is boring. What are we doing here?
Yeah. There are no scary games. Sorry to ruin the entire season, but they don't exist. Because I don't get scared. We'll go with that. Spooky games for spooky season. There you go. Right here on Jolt. Fantastic. Of course, join us in the Discord if you're not already in there. And put your own recommendations in or whatever.